Thank you everyone for joining with us on the occasion of the Gita Jayanti. It's very interesting that nowadays we celebrate Gita joyously. But when Krishna was speaking the Bhagavad Gita, it was not necessarily joyous occasion. It was an occasion of causing an anxiety for a teacher by the student. The surrounding was not friendly because it was a war zone, and war not happening amongst the enemies. Yes, they had become inimical to each other, but they were all relatives. Not only the relatives, there were also teachers, elders, superiors, right? But still Arjuna had to battle, he had to fight. And suddenly he decided not to fight. He was deciding to withdraw from his duty. He was not withdrawing from his relationship with God. Instead, he was withdrawing from his duty. So therefore, when we understand the psychology of Bhagavad Gita, the nuances of Jivana Dharma, right? There is Atma Dharma, and then there is the Jivana Dharma. Within Jivana Dharma, there are many dharmas. Putra Dharma, Patni Dharma, Praja Dharma, Rashtra Dharma, Vidyarthi Dharma. So Jivana Dharma constitute different nuances of life, responsibilities of life. So putting them all together is called as Jivana Dharma. Does this Jivana Dharma give us perfection? Does it give us perfection? The question is raised. So Jivana Dharma does not give us perfection, but it facilitates our journey to perfection, which is called as Atma Dharma. There is Atma Dharma also. So the focus of Bhagavad Gita, for Arjuna is to relive his Jivan, his life. What is the difference between Arjuna's question and Parikshit Maharaj's question? Parikshit Maharaj was about to die. So for him, it was not about Jivan, it was about Atma. And Arjuna was dying in his responsibilities. So for him, it was not Atma, it is life. To distinguish between the two is very important. Even though Atma Dharma is the ultimate reality for the living entity, but to reach that ultimate reality, some or other in this world, we have a life to live. One is our own life. It could be 70, it could be 80, it could be 50, it could be 5 days also. Just because somebody is going to live 5 days doesn't mean that they should neglect what is Jivan, what is life, what is my Jivana. Jivana Dharma is a practicality of life. Atma Dharma is the essence of our entire existence, our Astitva. Our Astitva is the Astitva full of knowledge, full of bliss, full of eternality. Whose Astitva? The very essence, Atma. Jisko Atma kaha gaya. But when this Atma, when it comes to this world, influenced by 3 modes of material nature, covered by Man, Buddhi and Ahankar. There is the mind, there is the Ahankar, and there is Buddhi, intelligence. So when the Atma is covered by these 3 things, it is called as Jiva. इसको जीव कहा जाता है. जीव minus मन बुद्धि अहंकार becomes atma. Atma plus man buddhi ahankar becomes jiva, and jiva, whether you accept it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you are advanced in spirituality or not, they have duties to perform. So the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, please understand, do not bring your purpose of life. आपका पर्पस है, somebody wants to go back to the spiritual world. आत्मा का पर्पस है. Some people want to become part of Brahma Jyoti. Some people have no idea of Atma. They said death itself gives rise to perfection. The philosophy of Charvaka Rishi. Right? So these are the conclusion or the essence of Atma. But Gita, what does it do? It focuses on our journey of life. Generally, what happens many times, people talk about, "Arey, material world is full of misery. What is the point in getting stuck to here, to all the relationships? What is there to look forward? Just focus on our spiritual perfection." So these are extremely good ideas. They are authentic ideas. But the problem is, I am not there. Right? I am not there. Because I am not there, therefore, the duties are there. Those duties are part of three varga. Three varga means dharma, artha, and kama. Moksha is connected to Atma. Dharma, artha, kama is connected to Sharira. Please understand. So the Bhagavad Gita's focus, we are not talking about anything else. We are talking about Bhagavad Gita. The focus of Bhagavad Gita is this three varga. Dharma, artha, and kama. Arjuna was doing something which was not profitable. Arjuna was doing something which was not according to his duty. Arjuna was doing something which will eventually cause him pain. So by rejecting to fight on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was causing trouble to his dharma, he was causing trouble to his artha, and he was causing trouble to his kama. He had no problem in regards to the ultimate destination of life. He had no problem in regards to accepting his friend Krishna as his very life and soul. इसमें अर्जुन को कोई confusion नहीं था. There was no confusion for Arjuna in this regard. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita is the only book, only grantha for that matter, which was spoken not in the Adhyatmik Vatavaran. It was not spoken in the temple. It was not spoken in the satsang atmosphere. It was not spoken where all the sages are sitting, being philosophically inclined. No. Unlike other many holy granthas, Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, not during the free time, but at the very time when Arjuna is supposed to raise his weapon and fight. Right? So therefore, what is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is connected with life. Therefore, reading Bhagavad Gita at the death of someone is necessarily pious activity, but not necessarily very intelligent activity. Why it is not very intelligent? Because Bhagavad Gita is supposed to be spoken how to live life instead of how to live from this world. हाँ, उसका भी ज्ञान है, but that is not the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Please understand. Therefore, we are calling today's title as Jivana Dharma. You know, the duties of our life. And therefore, it is important that we read Gita from our early foundation of life so that the teachings of Bhagavad Gita can be implemented in our day-to-day life. That is the one thing of Bhagavad Gita. Please understand, it is connected to Jivan, and some of the Adhyatmic Grantha are connected to Atma, like Bhagavatam. Then the next point comes, if Bhagavad Gita is connected to life, then the question is raised, how do I implement the teachings of Bhagavad Gita? Is it meant to be reciting alone? In this entire month during Gita Jayanti, a lot of people will invite in their homes and make them recite Bhagavad Gita. Very good. It is fantastic. At the same time, more than simply reciting, if people decide in this month, I will try to understand the nuances of Bhagavad Gita and try to implement one or two principles of Bhagavad Gita in my day-to-day life. So therefore, what Gita becomes a great idea, great theological discussion of Krishna to Arjuna in regards to acting based upon those teachings. Not simply reciting the teaching, but understanding the teaching and implementing those teachings. And therefore, I was listening to one philosopher, a British philosopher, and he also quoted about Gita. Right? He was trying to reconcile between play and work. He was trying to reconcile between making our work into very sportive. And he gave a Hindu philosophy for that matter. He said, just like the Hindus, a British guy, he says, like the Indians have this concept of Vishnu Leela. Sab Bhagwan ki Leela. Everything is operating because of Vishnu Leela. It's a playground of God. Aapne suna hoga. Sometimes people say, how can misery be playground of God? How can God enjoy the suffering of the living entity? There is something wrong. So let us try to understand this very important aspect. Some people call it as a Vishnu Leela. Others call it as what? Others call it as Maya, illusion, ashashwat, temporary. So when we hear that it is all illusion and Maya or Vishnu Leela, there is a tendency to become indifferent to our duty. What is the point in doing the same thing again and again, again and again, again and again? It is all bondage. It is all complexities. Like other day, somebody was pregnant and the mother was very happy. Oh, my daughter is pregnant. And suddenly she became philosopher saying, Are Prabhuji, but this is all bondage, right? I said, this is not correct idea. A child coming to your family is basically pushing the legacy of life forward. Life will always be there. Prakriti will always be there. I, you, me may not be there. But life to rahega na. The father may not be there. The mother may not be there. The brother may not be there. Wife may not be there. Husband may not be there. But husbandhood, wifehood, motherhood, fatherhood, kinghood will continue to remain. So do not destroy the motherhood in the name of father is temporary. Do not destroy childhood in the name of child care. Wo to chala jayega. So we have to distinguish between what is eternal. The responsibilities are eternal. But I being responsible forever, that is not correct. माता अशाश्वत है, परंतु मातृत्व अशाश्वत नहीं है. Therefore, when the child comes to this world, it is a celebration. It is a joyous occasion. So the question will be read, then what to do with this philosophy then? Maya is there, Vishnu Maya is there. So the purpose of Krishna speaking Arjuna in the second chapter, hey Arjun, you are not this body, you are spirit soul. आप आत्मा हो, शरीर नहीं हो. Arjun पहले भी जानते थे, he knew this before also. Krishna is basically reiterating, Krishna is re-emphasizing. What is the purpose? The purpose of speaking this is, when you know it is a sport, play like a sports person. Be joyful in your duty. Whether you win or lose, do not stop fighting on the battle of life. You do not perform his duty because you like it. I marry because I like. I don't marry. I don't like, therefore I don't marry. I go to school because I like. I don't go to school because I don't like. I chant because I like. I don't chant because I don't like. Life is not happening only because I like or I don't like. Life is happening because I have taken certain responsibility. Whether I like it or not, whether I get great results or not, I need to function. Therefore, Krishna says, "Arey Vishnu Maya hai. Kya hoga sabse jyada? What will happen at the most? You may die, but dying is an illusion. Therefore, do not stop functioning. Act, do your duty with vigorous responsibility." So the purpose of philosophy of temporariness is not to withdraw, but rather become assertive in performing our duties. And therefore, Krishna in the third chapter, what does he say? He takes everybody. He says a conditioned soul has to act. An elevated soul has to act. He said, even I act, because if I don't perform my duty, the entire world will be put into ruination. So who is acting? A conditioned soul is acting. Who is acting? The liberated soul is acting. Who is acting? Beyond condition, beyond liberated. Even Lord, when he comes to this world, Bhagavan, when he comes to this world, he also performs his duty. And duty is always concrete, not abstract. You can't just feel about your duty. You can't say, I love my child. ये तो शब्द हो गया. What are the process? What is an indicator that you love your child? एक जर्नी है, प्रवास है, ये केवल सेंटिमेंट नहीं है. When a man says, I will protect my wife, of course, these statements are very dangerous nowadays. But who is there to protect me? How can you protect me? Right? I can protect myself. So the point is, आपके प्रेम में action होना चाहिए. Therefore, it is karma yoga. And who has that karma? Ordinary living entity has that karma. Liberated soul has that karma. And even Krishna says, even I have to perform duty, Arjun. I perform duty even though there are no duties for me. Name partasti kartabhya trisu lokeshu kinchana. Third chapter. But what does Krishna says? Even though I have no duties to perform, I do it. Yad yad acharati shreshtas. Tat tat evetaro janaha. So even if you have lost your heart in Vrindavan, you may lose your heart in Vrindavan, but bring your brain to duty table. आपको अपने कर्तव्यों को करना ही होगा. Whether your mother, father, whatever you have to perform that duty as efficiently as possible, as mathematically as possible, and as heartfully as possible. Because why heart also has to be there? Because it's your duty. Heart होना चाहिए, attachment नहीं होना चाहिए. Why? Because within your karma also. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mahi pashyati. In the very third chapter, Krishna explained all work is prescribed in the Vedas. And Vedas are directly coming from Brahman, Brahma, Supreme Brahman से आ रहा है. तो कार्य वेदों में है, वेद भगवान से आ रहा है, and therefore work is synonymous to divyatva. Work is synonymous to divyatva. Right? Like this man was talking about, he gave the example of 1970 World Cup football. The football fever is going on in Qatar. To the host that football championship, how much money Qatar spent? $220 billion. $220 billion, which goes up to 1,80,000 crores of rupees. एक फुटबॉल इवेंट को करने के लिए. Is it duty bound? No, it is purely entertainment. अगर कल फुटबॉल बंद हो गया तो जीवन रुकेगा नहीं. It's a entertainment centric. But imagine tomorrow all the wives, all the mothers, all the cooks in the kitchen, they decide हम कल 2 दिन के लिए स्ट्राइक करेंगे, खाना नहीं बनाएंगे. Forget, only the mothers and the wives decide to go on strike from cooking. I guarantee you, all the hotels all over the world will not be able to provide efficiently to the people. परंतु आपने कभी देखा है झगड़े के कारण अलग अलग घर में माताएं बनाती नहीं होगी, but the entire world, one day we are going to go in strike, we will not cook, will never happen. The act of cooking since time and immemorial is happening in every kitchen. That is Jivana Dharma. That is Jivana Dharma. Imagine, पहले तो लोग पानी कुएं में से लेकर आते थे. I have grown up like that for many years. Right? The men would go to work and earn money, and the mother and the girls would go to the well and fetch water. इसका कंपटीशन होना चाहिए, फुटबॉल का नहीं. बिकॉज जीवन से जुड़ा हुआ है. कुकिंग का गोल्ड मेडल का कंपटीशन होना चाहिए. इन 1 hour, how many items my mother can cook? 16 course item. How much water can I fetch? It is entertaining and also utility friendly है. देखो, अगर पानी लाना बंद कर दिया क्या होगा? फंक्शन नहीं कर पाओगे. The chariot drivers, the vehicle drivers, all of these people say, I will go for strike. हाँ, ड्राइवर्स लोग कभी कभी जाते हैं, मदर्स लोग नहीं जाते. The basic necessity वाले कभी भी स्ट्राइक पे नहीं जाते थे. कब से? Since time and immemorial. So this is called as Jivana Dharma. Put on all these duties, how it is seamlessly functioning since time and immemorial. कभी बंद नहीं होता, चालू है. And imagine the devatas, for that matter, where Krishna is telling Arjuna that if you want to get all the resources of life, then let there be cooperation with the devatas. They will provide all the basic necessities of life. अगर इंद्र ने पानी देना बंद कर दिया, अगर सूर्य ने सूर्यकरण देना बंद कर दिया, अगर चंद्र ने चंद्रकरण देना बंद कर दिया, how long? Since time immemorial, consistently, whether he likes it or not, it is happening. That is Jivana. Cooking happening, that is Jivan. If you recollect, if you reflect, that especially your mother, no, or your wife who is elderly lady, अगर आप याद भी करोगे आपको याद नहीं आएगा कि मदर ने कभी छुट्टी लिया था. Even during her period she may not cook, but you will not come to know whether she has a period, how she is organizing, how she is managing. आपके थाली में नियमित रूप से खाना आएगा ही. अगर आपने बोल दिया अरे ये क्या है, व्हाट इज दिस ऑल मंडेन कुकिंग, व्हाट इज दिस मंडेन ईटिंग, आई जस्ट फोकस ऑन कृष्णा, कैन यू सर्वाइव? यू कैन नॉट सर्वाइव. Therefore Krishna is saying conditioned soul, liberated soul, and the Supreme Lord, when he comes, he performs his duty to set an example. Therefore the philosophy of Vishnu Lila or Maya is used to increase your conviction. What will happen maximum? Krishna says that Arjun, while performing your duty, even if you encounter death, even if you get destroyed, still one should perform one's duty. यानी कि अपना कर्तव्य मृत्यु से भी बढ़कर है. And our people have proven it. Imagine the entire city, the doctors, the municipal hospital, the private hospitals, they decide 2 दिन के लिए सबके सब डॉक्टर स्ट्राइक करेंगे, वैद्य सब लोग स्ट्राइक करेंगे. आपका फिलॉसफी है, and life is not important, going back to the spiritual realm is important. You will have such a suffering in life. Very important to understand. So that is Jivana Dharma Yoga. And how to perform that duty? That has to be performed in divine consciousness, because divinity is everywhere. Yumam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati. One who sees God in everything, one who sees Krishna in everything, everything in Krishna, he is never lost to him and he is not lost to them. So within your karma, there is divyatva. This is another beautiful aspect of Gita. Very beautiful aspect of Gita. And it is but natural when you are performing duty, you might get complicated in your life. There could be a cause of bondage. So what does Krishna suggest? He said, when you are performing your duty, you perform your duty in such a way, just like how you play snake and ladder game, whether you win or lose, whether you go high or you go down, you do not stop throwing the dice. Kitne baar bhi, however many times you come down from the mouth of the snake, repeatedly, you are not making beyond 30. Every time you go up to 30, 28, you come down, you come down, you come down. So what is the tendency? Jaane do, mujhe nahi khela, I don't want to play. So that is what you are not supposed to do. Because once you stop playing, there is no guarantee that you will go up. But if you keep playing, there is a chances that you will break this jinx and move forward 28, 38, 48, 68, 78, 96. And that is an exciting time. You might come from there also, right? So what is it? Nishkama karma gives right to sporting spirit. I remember, so this sports person, he said, like the Hindu philosophy teaches about life to be joyful, life to be like Vishnu Lila, life is like, ashashvat hai, isliye pura jhok ke kaam karo. So there was an article in the many newspapers when Brazil won the World Cup in 1970. They said this Brazilian team won the World Cup through the process of dancing. Dance karte karte unhone jeet liya. And somebody asked this famous footballer from India, Sunil Chetri, whom do you like, Messi or Ronaldo? Usne kaha, Ronaldo is a machine. Such a functioning machine. But Messi is like art. तो उन्होंने कहा, very interesting. So जीवन को आर्ट के समान जीना चाहिए. रोनाल्डो जैसा हार्ड वर्क करो, लेकिन it should be connected to art. And what is that art? That art is the sportive spirit. So reciting Bhagavad Gita is very important. But if we can practice in this 1 month and beyond also, trying to learn the art of Nishkam Karma, you cook nicely as possible. And if your spouse or your children do not appreciate you, learn to say, I have done my duty. This is Bhagavad Gita. This is a small thing. Play the snake and ladder game and try to be less excited. Be happy, but don't be so excited. If you come down from the snake ladder again and again, don't be in anxiety. Pain रहेगा, लेकिन अपने पेन को बढ़ाओ मत, अपने एक्साइटमेंट को बढ़ाओ मत. So if we can do this for 1 month and beyond, we are practicing some aspect of Nishkama Karma. The Nishkama Karma concept itself is so bouncer for people. How can you work and not be attached to it? I said, try being attached, then see what happens. There is a frustration, there is anger, there is separation, there is divorce. But if you play the way Krishna is asking us to play, it is profitable mentally, it is profitable emotionally, it is profitable in regards to working longer, smarter and harder. Because you have become less expecting of it, not less working. बहुत बड़ा अंतर है. Expectation should not minimize your duty. That is Nishkama Karma. But how do I do Nishkama Karma? Again, Krishna says to Arjuna in the 6th chapter, Tasmad Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha. Because if you only perform your duty, at some point of time, duty will become burdensome. ये burdensome बनेगा ही. 1 year, 2 year, even the greatest pilot who joins a commercial pilot, at some point of time he feels bored. Oh God, every day I need to do this. Even the best of the cook, cooking in the kitchen, making very specialized things, it is what happens. It happens that even you're doing specialized work, if you become bored. But again, go back and study our ancestors. And now also, there are people who are extremely consistent in performing their duties. And if you keenly observe them, those who perform their duties, they have an element of connection to divinity. They spend their time in their temple, they spend their time in their meditation, they spend their time in chanting, they spend their time in doing pranayam while taking from the left nostril, chanting the names of Ram, Krishna, Shiva, and while releasing from the right nostril. या मंदिर में जाएंगे, अपने दिव्यत्व के साथ में कनेक्ट करते हैं एंड देन संघर्ष करते हैं. So the combination of sangharsha and sadhana gives them an edge over against others. But those who are only chanting, hoping that I just need to chant, I don't need to do anything, either they are sitting on a rich cash, right? They don't need to earn money. But those who think that if I just focus on my spiritual activity, Krishna will provide everything, that is a misnomer. That is not recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjun had to fight to win the war. Krishna did not fight for Arjun. Krishna did not kill even one soldier on the battlefield of Kurukshetra for the Pandavas. In fact, Bhishma ko marne ke liye bhage. Krishna ran. Do you think Krishna Wanted to kill Bhishma? No, he wanted to basically provoke Arjun. And Arjun ran. No, Krishna, no, don't do like this. Your name will be spoiled. Krishna said, go to hell. You're not doing your duty. And Arjuna promised, कि मैं करूंगा, मैं बाण चलाऊंगा. Right? Therefore, tasmad sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhacha. The smaran gives divinity to our sangharsha, and our sangharsha gives substance to our smaran. Otherwise, those who depend on God without sangharsha, they become burden to God. They burden to the society. Or I don't do anything but just do my spirituality. Somebody is feeding them. Somebody is providing them. Somebody is earning for them. Whether you are a sannyasi, guru, ordinary, somebody is buying a ticket for them. Somebody has worked very hard and they have given that charity to give it to the sannyasis. तो किधर ना किधर उनके लिए काम तो हो ही रहा है ना. You see this Jain monks walking, covering their face, not to kill the insects. But somebody is going with them on a wheel. Somebody is carrying things. Therefore, nobody can avoid karma. And therefore, let that karma be connected to divinity of what? Sangharsha and Smaranam. ये दोनों का समन्वय गीता का मार्ग है. And another interesting point, as we were discussing about Gita, that when you talk about Smaranam along with Sangharsha, then the verse becomes more meaningful. Which verse becomes more meaningful? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshaishi masucha. What is it? In this verse, Arjuna was asked by Krishna, Sarva dharman parityajya. Arjuna, give up all varieties of dharma. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Tu mere sharan mein aaja. The point here Krishna is speaking, give up your ego, your identity, not your responsibility. अपने अहंकार को छोड़ो, परंतु अपने कर्तव्यों को नहीं. The question is raised, did Arjuna surrender to Krishna or Arjuna did not surrender to Krishna? If Arjuna had not surrendered to Krishna, then there is no point in discussing about Bhagavad Gita. If Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, then why is he still raising the weapons? Why is he shooting at the enemy soldiers? Why is he not given up Sarva Dharman? Krishna said Sarva Dharman, na? तो उसमें एक क्षत्रिय धर्म छोड़ना पड़ेगा, आपको राज धर्म छोड़ना पड़ेगा, पुत्र धर्म छोड़ना पड़ेगा, भाई धर्म छोड़ना पड़ेगा, राष्ट्र धर्म छोड़ना पड़ेगा, धनुष्य त्यागना पड़ेगा. So when Krishna told Sarva Dharman Parityajya, did Arjuna surrender? If he did surrender, why is he fighting? Answer is simple, because what Krishna asked Arjuna to surrender is his ego, but not the duty. Therefore, Gita doesn't stop where Sanjay speaks, Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishno Tatra Partha Dhanurdhara. Doesn't stop there. In fact, that is a proclamation made by Sanjay, an important principle to understand of Gita. Within that Jivana, there is Adhyatma. How is that Adhyatma within Jivana? Krishna told Arjuna, Sanjay told, wherever there is Krishna, Yogeshwara. Yogeshwara means giving proper vision. दृष्टिपात करने वाले, गाइडेंस देने वाले, परमात्मा के रूप में, शास्त्र के रूप में, गुरु परंपरा के रूप में, कृष्णा gives that prerana. But he will not work for you. You can't expect Guru to come and cook for you. You can't expect Guru to fulfill your psychological need. That is not their responsibility. They are an inspiration for you. But you have to perspire. Therefore, Krishna is the visionary, Arjuna is a performer of action. Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna, Tatra Partha Dhanurdara. Right? So Arjuna अपने अहंकार को छोड़ दिया, झूठे अहंकार को, लेकिन अपने अस्तित्व और अपने ड्यूटी को नहीं छोड़ा. Therefore, the understanding is Sharanagati is not cancelling the third chapter. Remember the third chapter. Conditioned soul will act, advanced soul will act, and the Supreme Brahman will also act. The first one will act out of compulsion, and the second and third will act to fulfill their duties and plus to set an example to the society. Whether you are higher people of a spiritual realm or your lowest of the personality, the act of performing duty has to happen. Right? Another interesting part of Bhagavad Gita, as I mentioned, Sarva Dharman and duty, they are not cancelling from each other. I am the doer is getting cancelled. And in the 10th and 11th chapter, what does Arjuna hear from Krishna? He gives him the glimpse. He gives him that trailer that if you perform your duty diligently, when we are asking this question, Keshu Keshu cha bhaveshu chintosi bhagavan maya. Hey Krishna, how may I see you in Keshu Keshu cha bhaveshu, in different varieties of matter? भौतिक वस्तु में मैं आपको कैसे देखूं? How will I see you? Right? People want to run away from bhautik life. People are running to the retreat center. People are running to holy places. People are running away. They come back again to earn more money and to go there. But the point is, if they have the choice, they would prefer going away. To experience serenity, to experience spirituality, to experience that kind of divinity. Right? Like we had gone to Banaras. There is so many tourists are coming. I want to stay on the bank of Ganga. People go to Vrindavan, go to Mayapur. I want to stay there. Right? But Krishna here giving an interesting understanding. What is that interesting understanding? When you can see everything in him and him in everything through the 10th chapter. What is 10th chapter is all about? Seeing Krishna in everything, seeing God in everything. And what is 11th chapter? In the 11th chapter, seeing everything in God. 10th May, seeing God in everything. 11th May, seeing everything in God, including your failure, including my failure, including your success, including our success. So when we are able to do again this aspect of life, what will happen? We will stop slandering people. We may be angry with people. थोड़ा मजी मस्ताक मजी कर लेंगे, लेकिन you will not be angry perpetual with people, because you understand when Hanuman ji saw first time Ravan, जब हनुमान जी ने रावण को पहली बार देखा, what did he see? He said, wow, this man is so powerful. He has the power and courage and the administrative ability to rule the entire world. And when does he see that? When he is known to be culprit of kidnapping Mother Sita. Forget Hanumanji, go back to Lord Ramachandra. He is the one who received so much of pain from Ravan. When Ram saw first time Ravan, what did he say? Wow, what a personality. If he was a dharmic, then we could have used him for the higher cause. Right? Ravan was killed, no doubt, for his crime. But Ravana's identity was not killed. Till now, as long as there is a creation, and creation will be forever, sometime there could be a bigger pralaya, so therefore everything will restart, music, everything else. You know, the Tandava, Shiva Tandava Stotra compiled by Ravan is still heard by millions of people. So there is a distinguishing between Ravan and Ravan's talent. रावण के पाप को मारा, लेकिन रावण के काव्य को नहीं मारा. उस काव्य का उपयोग किया जा रहा है. It is still being used. Right? So therefore, another very interesting component of Bhagavad Gita, while seeing God everywhere and everything in God, we see the potential of Jiva. Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam. He said, Arjun, wherever you see that spark of the splendor. When you see the ability in man, right? When you see the ability in man, when Zakir Hussain plays tabla, when Bismillah Khan will play shahnai, right? तो उनके उंगलियां जिस प्रकार से भ्रमण करते थे, घूमते थे, then you understand, wow, even the ability, even if I contemplate, reflect, oh, ability is also part of the divinity of the Lord. So nice. So you cannot escape from anywhere. Gita does not allow you to justify our stupidity. Why? Because Gita is not an imposition. Gita is the sensitive to our surrounding. How can you avoid your surrounding? Because you breathe your surrounding. You experience your surrounding. So Krishna, instead of saying about Gita, I wish life could be like this. No, he's not wishing. He said, hey Arjun, life is like this. Life is like this, right? When we were in one village in Uttar Pradesh, Yogi ne uska kaya palat diya hai, bhar bhar ke. Right? People have taken pride for the right reason. So we went to one village. And the man came, he's from Bombay only, settled back to. His life was so nice. But within that nice life also, there was a tragedy. He lost his father during COVID. He lost his mother. And sadly lost his son-in-law, who was just 34-year-old. 15 दिन में 3 लोगों की मृत्यु हो गई. But his conviction to go to Babaji, that is Kashi Vishwanath, अपना पूजा करना रुका नहीं. पेन है, दर्द है, दोनों को भी, right? That girl is serving her in-laws. She said, I don't want to marry, I have a daughter. The father-in-law is trying to help her. No, beti, chalega, तुम्हारा जीवन है, हम तो चला लेंगे. Everybody is supporting her. Right? Nobody is saying, "Arey, you can't marry anymore." उसको support करना. But the point I'm mentioning, they knew life is like this. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada. This is the key for Bhagavad Gita. If you know this understanding very clearly, when the tragedy hits anybody, you will not ask the redundant question, why God this? Why God did this to me? प्रश्न नहीं उठेगा. Because एक God का सवाल नहीं है, एक प्रकृति के realities है. It is the reality of Prakriti. Those who are born here, they will die. Some die early, some die later, but death will come to them. So therefore, asking this question, how can he die? How can she die? On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, expecting long life is a stupidity. If you're playing cricket, when you're facing the fastest of the bowler, and you're the opening batsman, and you're saying, you know what, I will play cricket, but I can't handle duck. I cannot go out for duck. I can't handle duck. If I go out for duck, then I will be extremely, I'll be in mental anxiety. Then don't play. Don't play, because if you cannot handle duck, you will not be qualified to crack 100 runs. Whether it is Sachin Tendulkar, yeah, including Don Brodman. What an average, 99.94 ka average hai. Even that Brodman, when he was playing a last test match, he went out for duck. खेलना है तो लगेगा निश्चित, स्विमिंग करना है तो पानी मुंह में जाएगा निश्चित, स्विमिंग करना है तो नाक में पानी निश्चित जाएगा। कुकिंग में जाओगे, however great cook you are, at some point of time, if not your skin, at least the hair on your body gets burned, you smell it. कौन कहता है कि मैंने आज तक कुकिंग किया ना, एक बार भी लगा नहीं, फेकिंग इट, you know, they're playing, they're cooking in the video game, नहीं होगा. If you're a farmer, along with prosperity, you know, along with prosperity will also experience some kind of difficulty. So dvandva is one of the most important words. Therefore, Gita will teach you not to ask the stupid question of why this happened to me. ये प्रकृति का नियम है. मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदा आगमो आपायिनो नित्यस्तम तितिक्षस्व भारत. Arjun, Krishna told you know this body of spirit soul 2.13 and 2.14. What is he saying? Arey, you are born to a better family. You come from a good family. Therefore, it behooves you to learn the art of tolerating the heat and cold. Not just tolerating, while functioning. आपका सीढ़ी से नीचे आना पड़ेगा. कभी कभी आपको स्नेक के मुख से नीचे आना पड़ेगा या लैडर से ऊपर आना पड़ेगा. सी द एंटायर स्नेक एंड लैडर गेम is an extension of 2.14 verse. Therefore, the kind of play हमारे समाज में खेलने की चर्चा क्यों की गई है? खेल हमें द्वंद्व को सिखाता है. The play teaches us the duality dynamically, aggressively, actively all the time. Huh? India was beating Pakistan, but at some point of time, the record had to be broken. एक बार जीता, दो बार जीता, तीन बार जीता, चार बार जीता, पांच बार जीता, छह बार जीता, 7th time जीता, 8th time जीता, 9th time you have to be defeated. They experience more defeat. But even if you don't experience, whenever you experience the defeat, you have to accept it. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama apayinitya stam titikshasva bharata. Such people will experience amritatva, and therefore Krishna, you know, there is no limit. I wrote an article mentioning what did I learn from Bhagavad Gita. तो उसमें से मैंने कई points लिया, right? And therefore, let us not only recite verses of Bhagavad Gita, along with reciting, let us practice some of the principle of Gita during Gita Jayanti. And one of that is basically learning to become valorous. Valorous means basically daring. किसके लिए? बंगी जंपिंग के लिए नहीं. किसके लिए? स्कूबा डाइविंग के लिए नहीं. This is not adventure. This is entertainment. Adventure means there are some issues I need to deal with it. I will deal with them, keeping the spirit of Bhagavad Gita alive. And if I do it, what does Krishna say? You know, Arjun, if you perform your duty with that divine consciousness, in the 11th chapter, when he showed the Vishwarup form, he said, hey Pandavas, hey Arjun, besides you 5 Pandavas, just see everyone is entering into my mouth. Le liya hana, मैं चबा के खा रहा हूं पिकल के समान. Right? So therefore, in this month and beyond, if you take 1, 2, 3, 4 principle, you know, व्रत करना ठीक है, उपवास करना ठीक है, लेकिन क्या मैं निष्काम कर्म का पालन कर सकता हूं? Can I try to learn the art of snake and ladder 2.14 in my duty? Gussa aayega. I'm not saying the anger will not come. But can I keep my anger to certain limitation? Can I keep my joy? Krishna is not talking about giving up joy. Krishna is not talking about, don't become upset or hurt. Do not water your pain for the rest of your life. And do not water your pleasure of winning a gold medal in a school competition and keep telling all the time forever. उसकी आयु होती है, दुख की भी आयु होती है, सुख की भी आयु होती है. If you are able to not extend the life of dukkha and sukha, then you almost become a yogi. And if you become a yogi, then what happens? You experience divyatva and amrutatva forever. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? We can take 2-3 questions.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. There's one question has been posted by one of our participants. He's asking is the phrase work is worship. Is it correct, incomplete, or incorrect?
It's correct, but not properly explained. It is not, because in the 3rd chapter I quoted that Krishna says all work is born out of the Vedas, and Vedas are coming from Supreme Brahma. Yes, whoever has question, they can ask. Somebody, somebody has a question, but they can't unmute. Hello?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm trying to see what I can do.
What is our duty towards ourselves? Yes, that is what is our duty towards ourselves. Therefore, life begins, Gita begins with one's own self only. If your self does not exist, all your relationship do not exist. Only when you exist, if you are existing, then only you are a mother. Because mother means relationship. Only if you are existing, then only you are a husband. Because husband means relationship. Only when you are existing, therefore you are a citizen. Because again, citizen means relationship. Therefore, the foundational principle of Gita is connected to the self first. Therefore, self-discovery. What is that self-discovery? That what is my constitutional nature? What is my conditional nature? What is my circumstantial nature? I'm floating this nice course on, journey of self. So therefore, here, when you have integration between your psychological self, your constitutional self, and your conditional self, then whatever role you take, all those roles will have meaningfulness. Otherwise, you will live a life of slavery. Because somebody else will tell you what is your duty. Somebody else will tell you. One great commentator called as Vedanta Deshika, he creates a conversation, just like how Vishwanath Chakraborty Thakur does. Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna asks Krishna, who decides what is my duty? Who decides what is my dharma? In regards to psychophysical nature. Krishna said, no one, Arjun. Your past, that means 3 modes of material nature will decide. If anybody else decides that, they have an agenda. They will have an agenda. Arey, she is very good. I will use her for doing this one. So what happened? And based upon that, he might preach to her, he might tell her. So therefore, originally in the Gurukul, when children would go, including girls also, it is not that the girls would not. There is a huge history on this regard, right? A different kind of Gurukul. So when they would go there, the duty of a acharya or guru, only project he had is the project of helping the child to discover his or herself, engage them accordingly, and release them back to the family and to the society. So they would have such a great foundation. When I read that commentary, Vedanta Deshika, I said, wow, what a commentary. So therefore, in Gurukul, there was no other project other than simply helping children discover their self. Otherwise, everything is sentimentally driven. Right? It is agenda driven. Doesn't matter whether agenda is good or bad. Doesn't matter. You know, if you become a Hitler for a good reason or become a Hitler for bad reason, the consequences of being Hitler is basically confusing the self. That will not work. So therefore, Arjuna was told by, therefore it is, sometimes people say it was Krishna's will. It became Krishna's will because it was Arjuna's propensity. Krishna did not distract Arjuna. Krishna did not sentimentally, tell Arjuna. In the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna say? He said, Yathechasi tata karo. The Lord Krishna had the ability to free Arjuna from Krishna himself. Let it be Arjuna's choice, not Krishna's blackmailing to Arjuna. Hey, you have to do. In the entire Mahabharata, you don't see Pandavas being sentimentally driven. They have great sentiments. They are driven by their duty, flavored with devotion, but nothing beyond what they were capable to do. There are emergency duties, but if the emergency duty becomes your life, then your self is destroyed. It's a very important principle. It creates greater loss engaging people in doing something which they are not supposed to do in the name of Sharanagati. It minimizes them. It destroys the professionalism also. It causes confusion of their devotion also. And therefore, the purpose of Guru and disciple relationship is to purely help the child to discover their self. And as Prabhupada mentions, then doubting their propensity in the service of divine. So therefore, yes, that is it's a big aspect. Yes, you have a question?
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. I wanted to ask you about Dharma, in that we have Dharma that's coming from Varna, and we have Dharma that's coming from Ashram. And something that Srila Prabhupada said was Varna first, Varna before Ashram. Can you explain what that means?
Again, Ashram is a position, Varna is your psychological nature. It is inherent. Like Varna is basically, the Varna basically means color only. What is the color? The color, the mental color, the intellectual color, the ego color. There is an identity. If you study Jyotish Shastra written by the father of Vyasa, if you study in the fifth canto Bhagavatam also, if you study the Gita, the three modes of material nature, they define you, your own self. Which self? Not the Atma Dharma. Atma Dharma is very clear. Atma Dharma is the connection of the living entity towards the Supreme Brahman. Bhakti, that is yoga. Atma is serving the Paramatma. Jiva is serving Bhagwan. Das is serving Krishna. That's very clear. There's no confusion in the Gita about that. Arjuna had no confusion about his Atma Dharma. He had no confusion about his Varna Dharma also. As a Kshatriya, he fought many wars. Here he got confused whether I should shoot my grandfather or not. And based upon that, he wanted to make a decision that I'll go to the forest and live by begging. And he could never beg, because if he'd beg and somebody says, get lost from here, Arjuna would attack them. So therefore, he would apply Kshatriya Dharma in a wrong place. Just like if you bring a businessman and make him a full-time devotee, his propensity to make business will not stop. There also will function. That is Varna. No? And Ashrama is a next stage. Okay, whether is Varna, whether this Ashrama is facilitating this Varna to him. If you're a Kshatriya, no, again, being a wife or a husband, that is the position. Generally, everybody went through that. But whether you are an administrative, does it fit into this ashram or not? If somebody is extremely renounced, high evolved Brahminical nature, for them you don't give the ashram of grahastha. Or even if you give them the ashram of grahastha, which is again more centered around education, teaching. So therefore, Varna and Ashrama are integrated, but my ashram will be decided based upon my Varna, and my Varna is defined based upon what percentage of 3 modes of material nature are there. If somebody is highly centered around Rajogun, less Sattva Gun and Tamogun, and if they become spiritual leader, more than basically enlightening people, they might scare people. Like I remember one army officer was telling me, at one point of time in Haryana, they were called to become invigilators, the people who are waiting for the student to write papers. They said, don't call us, because the children will be scared, because we have a different kind of disciplining. They said, no, because all the teachers have gone for strike. When the army came, they came, and this typical, the kids from Haryana, they are all fighters. So they were all making all kinds of noise. And the army picked up their gun. They said, if you raise your head, we will shoot you. For next 3 hours, they were writing, but they don't know what they wrote. Because when the army person is standing a student, he is not discovering what he has learned, he is scared. So that is an important principle. So when there is confusion about these things, then it does not help you to practice your spirituality also. So Varna, Ashram and Atma Dharma, they come in this way. If you are materially unstable, then it is 100% for 99.99% of the people, their spirituality will also be disturbed. Therefore, Krishna comes to establish a space for everybody. And when you have that space properly, you are stable in that space, then it is very easy to practice spirituality.
All right, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. What are you asking? Okay, I'll take 1 or 2 questions. I'll take this question. Somebody asked about Shukadeva Goswami and Madhavendra Puri, right? That Sri Shukadeva Goswami and Madhavendra Puri, who live prescribed duties, and then I'm a student of a history where communists play agendas. How can I control my emotion? There with Gita says, and how to see 6 limbs of Rupa Goswami on Sharanagati, like complete dependence on Lord Krishna or Vishnu. Again, if you choose the life of Shukadeva Goswami and Madhavendra Puri, why you choose? Unless you have the capacity, you cannot choose. If you choose artificially, slowly being simple, you will create a complexity. Therefore, what I learned in the early days, that only those who are in the path of complete Vairagya, they should stay in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is land for renunciation, not for settling there as a family. What happens? A land of Vrindavan, which is the forest centric, becomes a golf court, high society, big places, hundreds of schools. Of course, nobody can destroy Vrindavan, but then the spirit of Vrindavan is basically disturbed because of our selfishness. I want to pursue my material life, while living in Vrindavan. It's a combination of Shukdev Goswami and Mukesh Ambani. ये कैसे होगा? How is it possible? I want to be Madhavendra Puri, and at the same time I want to watch, Federer and Nadal playing tennis. It's a nothing Rakshasi there, but it is a great confusion there. So therefore, again, please go back to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is not simply ABCD. It is the foundation for the muktas. It is the foundation for the conditioned soul. And it is an example by the Bhagavan how to live in this world. If I do not perform duty, Krishna is saying, read the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, daily, Krishna's daily activities by Narad Muni. Right? What did he see? He saw everything. Krishna getting his children married, then his daughter coming home for delivery, then his, excavating the well, planting the trees, offering oblation to the devatas. Right? These are all not Atma Dharma, but these are part of Jivana Dharma, which will make your Atma Dharma easy to function. Read that chapter. So therefore, it's important to understand the Sarva Dharman in this relationship. Again, Rupa Goswami is talking about your inner reality. Sharanagati, even that Sharanagati, Anakulyasya Sankalpa. Varna Dharma, Ashram Dharma is Anakulya. Pratikulasya Varjanam. What is Pratikula? The capitalism is Pratikula, communism is Pratikula, and Falgu Vairagya is Pratikula, imitation of Shukdev Goswami is Pratikula. When you are Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjanam, then comes the third, Rakshasiti Vishwaso. I remember one devotee was mentioning that people have the experience of their parents caring for them. For such people, it is easier to take shelter of God because they feel, oh, if my parents experience shelter, that means God also must be good on. But if the elders, the superiors have abused them, hurt them, caused pain to them, so they have a psychological thinking, oh my God, if my parents can cause this pain, my teachers can cause pain this, having less power, imagine the powerful God must be so crazy to hurt us. Therefore, one student, who went through abuse, he wrote a book, that my fault, my karma. And in that book, he mentioned that I'm not angry with God because it doesn't exist for me. Very, very profound statement. Now, this Nastikta is not born out of arrogance. This Nastikta is not born out of shamelessness. This Nastikta is born out of pain. So Krishna will not become angry with such Nastikta. Draupadi, for that matter, what she went through, she was angry with Krishna. She said, what is the point you being my friend? He said, what is the point in having such husband? Hell with Arjun and his Gandiv, hell with Yudhishthir, with his Dharma, hell with Bhima, hell with Nakula and Sahadev. Krishna, none of these people came to my support, my help. And Krishna, at least you should have supported me for 4 reasons. I am your friend. I am born no ordinary. I am a queen and I am a woman. These are the 4 reasons you should have protected me, but still you did not protect. What do you think Krishna did? Blasted her? He gave a philosophical? No. He heard her. And he took the responsibility and he said, Draupadi, whoever caused pain to you, I will personally see that their people and their family have to cry. When Krishna made that statement to Draupadi, she started crying tears. And Vyasdev explains, one of the most profound part of the Mahabharata. He explains that Draupadi started crying because she had nothing else to offer She offered her tears to Krishna. Even in anger, she wanted to give something to Krishna. Can you say, it's against the etiquette, that how can she be blasting? You can't say, oh, it's a pastime. No, it's a reality of her life. All right. So therefore, it is an important principle for us to understand that how we function in this world according to our psychophysical nature, so that we grow, and along with that our Atma Dharma also comes closer to the reality. I'll take one last question because Gita is the same question. Srimad Bhagavatam speaks about cultivating mode of goodness and Bhagavad Gita performing duties. Again, you cannot avoid your propensities and your you cannot avoid that. It will come back to you. Ego, elaborate on ego. Astitva, identity. As I said, without identity you cannot contribute. Very simple. If you don't exist, you don't become anything else. You take the role. I am a son, therefore you perform duty. I am a servant, therefore you perform your duty. So astitva, the identity, in the astrology also, the first house, first bhava is called as our ego. And wherever the Chandra is sitting, that is our mind. So our mind and our ego, if they're integrated, our identity is very clear. Our resources are plenty and in abundance, and therefore we can contribute. Therefore, the first thing, as I said, Gita, astrology, psychology, common sense teaches that the child takes food or takes the milk from the mother's breast. It is me. I need to nourish. And as the child grows, then extends the hand. Okay, I want to give to my sister. I want to give to my brother. One may say the child is selfish, but without that evolved selfishness, the child cannot contribute. There is no such thing as selfless service other than being yourself. So therefore, the focus has to be self, but the conclusion has to be selfless. Thank you very much for your kind attention. We will hope to meet and study more Bhagavad Gita systematically. I am planning to start a 20 minutes class on core. It will be more like a discussion rather than simply. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.